Hey everyone, Jack Stapleton here. I am the broker owner of Realty Texas. I've been selling real estate for 15 years. I am a real estate instructor, and I am filming a video about some of the technology that Realty Texas has rolled out to its agents that help us with risk reduction and ensuring that our agents are complying with Chapter 1101 of the Real Estate License Act. So for those of you who are not in real estate, this is going to be kind of an insider view of what goes on inside real estate. For those of you who are licensed sales agents in Texas, please feel free to take a look under the engine of what technology Realty Texas provides to our agents. This is technology built by agents for agents. This company has some technology professionals that have been building tech for decades, and what we have built here is pretty substantial. We have our own e-sign digital signing platform, our own room system, our own MLS platform. We have all of the data from the MLSs in Texas all combining into one place. We provide our agents a dashboard, tools to automatically down very cool listings and videos for their listings inside the what we call our Cesium product. It is a flagship product where you enter the data once and it pushes all the way through. It's one integrated system with everything connected in one with a very easy to use dashboard. We've made sure that the technology is not only fast and responsive and works on every single mobile device, it is secure. Using the best technologies that we have at hand today, and also following the License Act and our MLS rules as well. So a lot going on here. Welcome. Again, my name is Jack Stapleton with Realty Texas. I'm super excited to share with you some new technology that we've added into our platform this last week. We have added in a layer of risk reduction in terms of the intermediary form and ensuring that our system is auto-applying the intermediary form to a transaction as our agents are entering the forms for a transaction to ensure it doesn't get missed. We're finding over and over again that the intermediary form is being forgotten or omitted completely. I'm going to look at Texas Real Estate License Act Chapter 1101, how it pertains to the .559, which is the intermediary form, and what it says if that intermediary form is not used, and what the general criminal penalty is for not adhering to the Real Estate License Act. And for some of you, it might surprise you. So let's jump right in. For those of you who are not familiar with our system, in the bottom left-hand corner, we have a regulatory section which covers the Realty Texas policies and procedures, the Code of Ethics, which is a link directly to the National Association of Realtors site for the most updated version of the Code of Ethics, links to Texas statutes for the Real Estate License Act, links directly to the Property Code, Landlord and Tenant Guide, RESPA rules, Truth in Lending, commercial or CFPB, P53, and the Texas Administrative Code. So we're going to jump in to the License Act, and the first thing I'm going to note here is that it says Chapter 1101. I'm going to want you to remember this word chapter because the general provision for general criminal penalty talks about violating this chapter. Sometimes people, when they learn about what the general criminal penalty is, their eyebrow goes up and says, well, what does it mean by chapter? We are talking about the entire Chapter 1101, which also can be cited as a Real Estate License Act. So we're going to do a quick find. We're going to look at general criminal penalty, which is 1101-756. And I want to take quick notice to this because it says under 1101-756A, a person commits an offense if the person willfully violates. Now, oftentimes you see an agent out there saying, well, I didn't know, so I didn't willfully. So does it matter if an agent willfully committed an offense against 1101, the Real Estate License Act, or if it was just a fact of omission, they forgot, they didn't know? The statute says, and it goes on to see, or fails to comply with. So it doesn't matter if you made a mistake, or and you just forgot, or you in bad faith didn't follow the rule. Now, I think that an attorney and a judge, which I am not, would look at someone who's truly doing something in bad faith and might throw the book down a little bit harder than those people who just have not been properly supervised and educated, people who don't have a commitment to education and taken all those after licensure designations to really up their game to understand this profession, because there's a lot to learn in this profession. But the law here says, and this is the law of the land, that whether you forgot to do something that Chapter 1101 specifically requires agents to do, or they did it through bad faith, that it's going to still be the same thing. Now, an offense under this section, and again, section 1101-756, general criminal penalty. A person commits an offense if the person willfully violates or fails to comply with this chapter. So again, we go back to 1101-001, and we remember that it's chapter 1101. So it's this entire chapter. Something in here that the License Act requires that the licensee perform, and if the licensee doesn't perform it, either through bad faith or just through an act of omission, I didn't know or I forgot, it's looked at the same thing. Now, what is that criminal penalty? Class A misdemeanor. So, general criminal penalty. There we go. Again, section B here of 1101-756 clearly states an offense under this section is a Class A misdemeanor. Now, I've already gone up and I've Googled. Again, I'm not an attorney, so for those of you that are, I will let you comment below exactly how this applies. But if you Google Class A misdemeanor in Texas, this is a Class A misdemeanor. Penalties include a fine of no more than $4,000 and or up to a year in county jail. I don't know about you, but I have absolutely no intention of landing myself in county jail or getting fined from not adhering to the very chapter that allows me to fulfill my lifetime passion of helping people put roofs over their heads. So I'm going to be meticulous and scrupulous regarding my representation in understanding my fiduciary duty to my client. Now, those words, meticulous and scrupulous and fiduciary, where can we find those words? Well, we can find those under the canons of professional conduct and ethics by TREC rule. Now, we have TREC rule, and then we have the Occupations Code 1101. TREC rules are rules that TREC has put in place based on the guidance of TREC and those people who have served on TREC versus the law of the land, which is the Occupations Code 1101. So let's see what TREC rules state about these words that I just spoke. So let's look at fidelity. It says that a license holder, while acting as an agent for another, is a fiduciary. It goes on to say that special obligations are imposed when such fiduciary relationships are created. They demand that the primary duty of the license holder is to represent the interests of the client, and the license holder's position in this respect should be clear to all parties concerned in a real estate transaction that, however the license holder is performing duties to the client, that they need to treat everyone fairly. Number 2, that the license holder be faithful and observant to the trust placed in the license holder and be scrupulous and meticulous in performing the license holder's functions, and the license holder place no personal interest above that of the client. Now, this is our 531-2, which is our canons of professional ethics and conduct. So I bring this up because some of the things I'm going to talk about pertaining to the information about brokerage services and intermediary form is so often forgot by licensees, and they just don't understand what the criminal penalties are regarding the omission of these documents. It's not okay. It's something that has to be done. Now, again, we have found here at Realty Texas, the agents who seem to forget to use the intermediary form seems to be on lease transactions. Although we teach classes on a weekly basis, we've created this Realty Texas University, that's senior agent training that we require all of our junior agents to go through, and then we pound in the importance of using intermediary, what 4 things have to take place in order for intermediary to take place, and I'm going to share those with you now. In order for intermediary to take place, the seller has to have pre-authorized intermediary on the listing agreement. Buyer has to have pre-authorized the use of intermediary on a buyer rep agreement. And then when they come together in a transaction, they both have to agree in writing intermediary is authorized in that transaction. So they both have to have been presented with an IABS. They both have to have been presented with a respective listing or buyer rep agreement where they've pre-authorized intermediary. And then in that transaction, intermediary has to be granted. Now, the broker's role is that the listing agent and the buyer rep is written in the name of the broker, and the broker then is the person who is acting as an intermediary, because dual agency, which is legal in some state but not here in Texas, dual agency has split loyalty. We can't have split loyalty in the state of Texas. That is a violation of our License Act. Dual agency means that you represent a seller and you represent a buyer in the same transaction, and as as a broker, the buyer representation agreement and listing agreement are both in my name. So if our firm tries to represent both of them with me at the helm, then I would have split loyalty. Now, it would require then for me to subjugate my responsibilities either on the buyer side or the seller side, or the landlord and tenant for that matter, in the transaction. So what intermediary says is I subjugate my responsibility as broker, and I hand that scrupulous and meticulous and fiduciary special obligation that I hold to the consumer, and I trust the custody of that with my buyer agent. And then I subjugate on the other side of the transaction those special obligations and trust special obligations that are put on me, and I hand that to the listing agent, so that I have taken my responsibilities and I've pulled it out of my responsibility and assigned those to two different agents in the office. Now, the way that we handle this internally here at Realty Texas is that not only do we assign an agent to the buyer and an agent to the seller, we also assign a manager to each, and we make it clear to the consumer that if they have an issue with the agent or with the transaction, they're not to call me, but they're to call my manager. Because if they call me out of off the cuff and I'm not familiar or even aware at the moment that it is a intermediary transaction, and I start providing advice and guidance over the phone, I could myself find myself in a situation violating TREC by giving advice to one or the other. And so I have to step away from that role. So it's a very dangerous thing for a broker to do, to subjugate the intermediary. And there has to be a lot of trust that we place in our agent, which is why we also don't allow a junior agent on both sides of an intermediary, and that we require, even if they are a senior agent, that there is a manager assigned to each one. So it's very clear who to go to for what. Now, again, we're going to dig deep here into the technology that we've built here at Realty Texas to show you how our technology handles this, because the time that's required for the intermediary form to be used is at the signing of the contract. Now, of course, all of the other things had to have come first. The information about brokerage services before substantive dialogue happened about real estate with the agent and the consumer, and then a representation agreement being signed so that they understand what compensation is and who their agent is and what the duties are. And that happened on both sides of the transaction, their representation agreements and their IABS. And then after the property is shown, then before you enter into the negotiations, the intermediary form is authorized as part of the contract. So when the contract is formed, that the intermediary is part of that contract. Now, sometimes what we're seeing is that representation agreements and information about brokerage services forms and the IABS is all kind of waited until a contract is put together, and they do it at that time. And that is not the policy of Realty Texas. Our policy very clearly states that the order in which these things happen must be respected and comply with applicable laws that we have here in the state of Texas. So when we've built our technology, we've built these things into consideration with the technology. So again, our technology is built by Texas Realtors for Texas Realtors, so that we can ensure and sleep at night that we know that our agents are out there conducting real estate ethically, legally, and in compliance with TREC and in compliance with the Real Estate License Act. Let's go and visit our technology. Now, I know that I kind of went over the regulatory system, but this is our agent dashboard. Each agent in our office has their own dashboard. We have a media department that pushes out media to them that they can use on their social media that's branded specifically with their information and their photo. So we've got all of these different tiles on the dashboard. All the agents in the office and a map of where they are across the state of Texas. As you can see, we've got quite a few agents that work here at Realty Texas in several different marketplaces. And we have all of our open houses are here, and agents can pick which open houses they would like to host. And so we've got a whole open house opportunities list here, as well as our rooms system, which is our compliance engine, MLS history of every property that you've ever sold in any MLS right here on every agent's dashboard, a calendar of events for the company and who's going to the events, who's enrolled in it, a list of our staff contacts for agents to be able to email them, message them via Teams, because we use the Teams product here at Realty Texas. The different MLS products that Realty Texas is a subscriber to, and then the agent's DA's MLS production, information about that agent, their agent level, the company, our NAID number with HUD, our tax ID number, the broker number, and a link directly to the broker TREC record, our agent here with our agent license number, and a link directly to their TREC record, and their IABS, and a link directly to their IABS, so that's already filled out and ready for them to go, so they can use that link for all of their websites. The license type, the license issued date, the date that the license expires, their current status of their license, and their CE and MCE status. It's important to note that the tile here is directly updated from TREC multiple times a day, twice a day in fact, and that all of our MLS data that we have as a company comes directly from the MLS, and we're continually downloading the data. Within seconds of it hitting the MLS, it downloads into our system. So we have over 1 billion sales, over 6,000 transactions closed, over $23 million that the agents have made working at this firm, and we're just ending 5-year mark. So we're growing exponentially, we're growing fast, and the technology that we've provided the agents is pretty substantial. Now, up here are all the different apps that the agents have access to. The ones I'm going to be talking about today really is the Rooms system, although we've got some really cool MLS features where we can download videos, and we have our own virtual tours. I'm going to show you some of that really quick. If you go to this is a list of every single listing that's ever been listed by Realty Texas out of every MLS, shows you the current status of each one. So whatever the logged in user is, when they click our media section, they can very, very quickly download within seconds. I'm just going to grab it and download. It's going to download, in this case, a property flyer branded through the login user with a QR code back to the property. Now, these photos can be changed by clicking the button and picking whatever photo you want in the MLS. You can change the lines of the flyer, because that happened to be a flyer. But we've got virtual tours, so if you want to send a client a virtual tour, this virtual tour is what we call an on-the-fly virtual tour. We have a branded one and an unbranded one, and it's absolutely free. And so these are built-in virtual tours. And again, this is for any listing in the entire MLS, and these links never die. They stay around forever. So we've given our agents virtual tours, ability to download in less than 3 seconds a flyer, also just sold cards, and the just sold cards that we've creating is actually pretty cool. We also allow our agents right here to be able to upload the Remind system, and here's a postcard that they can be sent. Again, it takes 1 second. You go to any MLS listing in the entire MLS, you have access to the stuff within seconds. We also have a video maker, and I'm just going to use the default video here and say let's grab these videos into our video, and then click the download button here, make video, and it takes a good 4-5 seconds to create the video. But the net effect is you've got this video, and within seconds, poof, there it is. And it actually has music, and you can choose the music associated with the video by selecting which audio you want. So if I want to just grab another one really quick to look at the audio, we've grabbed the most popular different audio tracks for listings and thrown them in our system. So you can grab the audio that matches, or you believe that matches your listing the most. So that's our Cesium system, but I digress. This video is really about the Room system. It's a compliance engine of how we handle the intermediary form and the information about brokerage services to make sure it doesn't get missed. So we want to stay on that track. So this is my Room system. So as an agent, these are all of the rooms, properties that I may have under contract, and you can search for their address or their MLS number or the room's number itself, and which ones are created, which means brand new, which ones have been submitted to our compliance for DA processing, or which ones have been approved and already possibly even closed. But these are the MLS statuses over here. So we just grab a listing. This is one of my test listings here. So the one thing that I want to show you here, again, this is I'm going to clear out this room because this is my test room. I like using this as my test. The team tab is where your clients are assigned, the title company, the lender. So all this is the parties to the transaction are here, and then your providers. The property, which is the MLS property, the packets. Now we have built into the system a set of packets so that you'll have your representation packet, your contract packet. So let's say that you are representing a buyer. So you are representing a buyer on a single family home. We're going to focus on these two. So this room would then be the agent is the buyer agent, and the agent is working on a single family home. Now over here, let's say that the buyer is dropping into a room, an MLS listing, and he can do the address, or they can do a address, either one. They can find it and simply add it to the room. Now, when they added this property to their rooms, it immediately said, oops, this is intermediary, because it knew, based on the listing that was added to the room, that it was intermediary, because it was a Realty Texas listing, and our agent who's logged in is clearly a Realty Texas agent. This little red check mark that appears talks about what the intermediary requirements are and how they differ in an intermediary transaction. Remember, in an intermediary transaction, the buyer agent can't tell the buyer if the seller is willing to accept less on the transaction. In an intermediary transaction, the seller can't be told if the buyer has disclosed that they would be willing to pay more for the property. And so the duties under intermediary change. For those of you who are raising an eyebrow to that statement, let me take you over to the information about brokerage services, which, thank you, TREC, by the way, for this amazing form. This is probably the coolest form that we could have here in Texas. It talks about as agent for the owner, and this is a one-pager, as agent for the owner, as agent for the buyer, or as agent for both through the intermediary. And it says, must not, unless specifically authorized in writing to do so by the parties, that the owner will accept a price less than the written asking price, then that the buyer tenant will pay a price greater than the price submitted in a written document. So it's clearly written here on our information about brokerage services that under the duties that prevail under intermediary is that special duties apply, and we need to know what those duties are here in Texas real estate. So I have now applied this property, and it's clearly telling me, hey, this is intermediary, because it saw that it was intermediary. So you see how this works. Now over here on the packet, you will notice that there is an intermediary packet applied to this room. The way we've built this system is you drop this packet down, and based on buyer rep and single family, here are the packets that would apply. We have a residential buyer agreement, buyer rep. If our agent is doing a personal purchase, we have a different set of forms for them. If there's a termination for the buyer representation, here would be the termination for that. And then the sales packet, we have a contract, builder provided the contract, a contract 1 to 4 family home, contract incomplete, complete, or other backup. So these are the different forms that are available. And so we are going to say here is a buyer tenant rep. Now again, we already have the intermediary relationship notice here. Our forms filler product. We are the only real estate firm in the state of Texas, some bragging rights here, that have licensed Texas Realtors forms and embedded them into our forms filler. And so this is our form filler. Here is the intermediary notice. This is the form. We can fill these out, but we also have an autofill system that will automatically fill in based on the information that we have in our rooms. So this is the intermediary form and the intermediary packet. But forms, there should be a representation packet added to this room. So we grab the buyer rep packet, we add it to the room, and then we go to our form system, and now you see the intermediary packet was applied here, but here's our buyer rep agreement. It has the information about brokerage services. It has the buyer rep agreement. It has a general information and notice to buyer and seller. It has flood hazard areas, protect your home from mold, information about insurance for a buyer and seller. For your protection, get a home inspection. Question to ask a home inspector, what to know about the home inspection, information about mineral clauses and contract forms, and the wire fraud notice. All of these are documents that I require as part of a room, and if the form that they want is not in here, they can always add a single packet. And here's the entire forms library. It starts with 99 forms. These are forms that have been promulgated or created by Realty Texas, mostly disclosures. And then of course we have every single Texas Realtor form. So if they want to add an amendment to the buyer rep agreement, they can simply grab the amendment here and click the add button, and now on their form system you'll see a third packet applied. On the form system you now have the amendment here, and if that form isn't required, they can actually take that packet and simply just kill it and get rid of it out of the entire room system. Now, interestingly enough, because we've built the system, we won't let them delete the intermediary packet because that's required. The only way they can delete this intermediary packet in this transaction is by deleting the property. So if they delete the property, you will see it will automatically delete the intermediary packet as well as a contract packet if it's assigned. But this was assigned only a buyer rep agreement. Now, if we add a different property, or if we add that property back, you will see it adds that property back to the room. No waiting, super quick. Tells us who the agents are, their production history of the agent, who's the listing agent in that property. So if it's not a Realty Texas listing and with someone else, you would have seen their information immediately come up. So let's go do that for a moment. Let's go into the MLS. Actually, let's use our own MLS because we actually built our own. Let's click the MLS product that we have. And let's grab Round Rock. And again, this is every MLS in Texas. We're searching here in one place. Let's say I want to see properties that are at least $500,000 to $750,000 in Round Rock. Do a quick search. And here we go. We have Artesia. We're going to grab this one. Let's take a look at this listing. Yep. All right. So we're going to grab this MLS 8774331. So $8774331. We click this button, does a quick lookup. This is a different agent. This is listed by Ryan Ferguson. Looks like he might be a broker associate. We click his license history here, and then it immediately brings up his two MLS. He has a Actress account and a Central Texas account. I click his Actress account, and it will bring up his production for the entire MLS. It'll show how many homes he sold, what property types, and his total production over here. So that just comes along for the ride. It's something that we built for our agents that we think is pretty cool. They get a lot of use out of this. But again, for some reason, this listing is actually on hold with the MLS. It looks like he's pulled it off the market. But you will see, though, there is no intermediary because this is another firm. So that was what I was coming here to show you. So we're going to go ahead and add our listing back, 320-7313. Click the button, add it to the room. Poof. Go to our packet. We see that now there's an intermediary packet assigned to the room as well as our rep agreement. We go over to our form system. Now in the team system, I'm going to, we've already got we're buyer rep. This is our client here. Let's say I love Lisa Reeder over at Independence. Going to add her to the system. So now, poof, I've added it. All the title companies are already in our system. Maybe I'm going to use someone from Michelle Iconer from Legacy Mutual. And so I'm going to add all of these guys to our room. We're going to add her as the other agent. And when we do, it gives her agent information from the MLS, her information from TREC, and who her broker is. That would happen to be me, and then the firm's address. So that all comes up here on the form. So we're going to go ahead and click save on all of this, although most of it saves in the background automatically put us in intermediary scenario. Here is the property that's assigned. We've got our rep agreement, and we have our intermediary packet. We go to the form system, and you'll see information about brokerages is not filled out. You'll see that the buyer rep agreement's not filled out, but guess what? I click the fill all button, and it grabs the information from my template. It grabs the information from the MLS, and voila, it is all filled out automatically. So there's some things that won't be filled out that we have to fill out, which are date specific ranges and things like this, but 90% of it all will be filled out, including all of our amazing signatures and client information. And if we want to e-sign this, if we're ready to e-sign it to our client, we simply click the e-sign button here. It will take all of these forms, and it's asking us which ones do we want to e-sign. In this case, I'm going to select all and click e-sign. It's going to take us to our very own custom e-sign platform. So it's taking these documents and it's creating a PDF. It's putting them in the order that I've asked for, and then it's taking the buyer information that I have in this packet, the other agent's information, and it's compiling all of that, creating a room, and it takes about 15 seconds for that whole thing to happen. So here we go. Now all of these have been PDF'd. They're right here in the system. If I want to add additional documents, I can here. For instance, I might have a survey or some other document that's not going to come out of our form system, so you can add those here if you want to get those e-signed as well. The client's information is already here. I'm going to add my information as the agent, and so I'm going to grab here Jack Stapleton. I'm going to say that I am the buyer agent here, and then I'm going to click next. And what's super cool is it has already placed the signatures where they go for the agents and for the client. So if I'm going to e-sign this, I simply click send and complete, and the e-sign goes out. The consumer receives a text message letting them know they have a new e-sign ready to sign, as well as the agent gets an email. The agent can sign right here in our system. We're going to accept the terms and conditions of e-sign, and then we're going to click through, and the agent can this quickly sign each one of these forms. But again, I sent this to Miguel as a test record, so he just received a text message on his phone, and we do a lot of these classes, and so I'm sure that he's already probably aware that I'm using this as a test, and he's going to sign it pretty quickly. I'm sure I'm not too different than many of you. When we do have a client that has a DocuSign out, we're always clicking next. Did they get it? Did they get it? Tells you whether they've acknowledged it, which is that clicking that agree to the terms and conditions tells you if they signed it, and tells you when they've opened it. So we can sit here and we can watch this by refreshing the screen to see what's happening with that status. And if we need to, we can click resend. It'll send them another text message, and it'll send them another email. All right, so that is kind of how the whole email, this whole e-sign system works. And then we can click the room button here, take us right back to the room that we were. So now you've kind of seen how the form system works. You see how our packets work from the buyer side. But what if we're the listing agent? So we're going to go ahead and remove this property, which will remove the packets. And I'm going to change this to say that I am a seller representative. So over here on the team tab, I'm going to say that this client is a seller signer 1. I'm going to say that they are my main contact or my main POC. Click save all so that this is all here. And now I'm going to go over to the MLS, and I'm going to go back. I'm going to click the property, and I'm going to add the property to the listing. Now, this means that here's my listing associated to this room, and now let's say I've negotiated a contract, or in the process of negotiating it, and I know my client's going to accept that contract. I'm going to go ahead and add the other agent. I'm going to add Lisa Ormsby 580626, I believe. Voila. And so I'm going to add her as the buyer agent. So as soon as I added her as the buyer agent, the system said, whoops, you're intermediary, because it knows I'm Realty Texas listing agent because I'm logged in and told the system that I'm representing the seller, and I added a buyer agent that was at Realty Texas. Automatically, through an intermediary, automatically added the packet of intermediary. And now when I drop down my appropriate packet roll, you remember from before, we had a buyer packet, and all of those packets were there for the buyer. But now we have the exclusive right to sell, and have agents doing a personal listing that they're selling, or a termination of listing agreement, or if there's a lead-based paint, and all the things that are associated here. So I'm going to grab our typical exclusive right to sell, which is our rep agreement, click add. Now we go over to the form system. Now we see intermediary is the first form here. We see the information about brokerage services. We see our listing agreement. And again, we've got that amazing fill all button. We're just going to click it, and we're going to let this engine, which takes just a few seconds, to go ahead and populate all of these forms and have our listing agreement all filled out. We have found that we can actually do a listing agreement, have it out to e-sign in under 15 seconds, which is very cool, which gives the agents more time to jump on a Zoom with their client and spend what would have been the 40 minutes creating their documents actually going through each paragraph of what they're about to sign so that they are fulfilling their fiduciary duty of actually explaining these documents rather than just blindsiding a consumer. But again, if I want to send this out for e-sign, all I gotta do is click the e-sign button, hit select all, click e-sign. It's gonna do that same thing again. It's gonna put all of these together, PDF the forms, and then automatically take me to the eSign platform. It's going to add the client and the documents. It's going to add the body message for me. It's going to add the subject message for me. I can change those if I wish, but it is going to go ahead and add those for me. So again, here are all the contracts. If you want to view these PDFs, you can click view and it'll show you the document that is out for DocuSign. You can do that to any of these. Here is the envelope details. This is for us later in our room to see what the envelope, so this is like the envelope title. This is the subject message. You can certainly change that if you want. Here's the body message. You can change that if you wish. Miguel's already here as a seller signer. I'm going to add myself as the listing agent. I'm going to use my role now as listing agent. I'm going to click next. Again, system automatically places those signatures for you. So there's Miguel's signature. Here is an initial for Miguel. Of course, Miguel's blue. I'm the yellow color. So here's my initials. I simply click send and complete. It's going to shoot that DocuSign to Miguel. I can either grab my text. I can grab my text messages and it'll send me a text telling me I have an envelope ready to sign. Or again, I can do this. Open this up, terms and conditions. We're going to agree to the electronic signatures. Click next task, and I'm just going to go ahead and go through here, and I am going to sign my exclusive right to sell and all the associated addenda that Realty Texas has put together as the packet. So for compliance, it's pretty cool. So we really try to operate this business from a representation to our client perspective and a compliance, risk reduction compliance, making sure that we're using all the appropriate forms. So we have our intermediary relationship notice here because it's already there. Information about brokerage services, our exclusive right to sell, general information and notice to buyer and seller, information about property insurance for buyer and seller, protecting your home from mold, notice concerning hazards and deficiencies, information about special flood hazard areas, wire fraud, CMA cover page, because we require a CMA, market analysis, which is the actual, we got a cover page. I'm going to show you what that cover page looks like. Here is the CMA cover page, which is the general details. Here's the range, here's the community, the year built of the home, the square footage, the property address, and so we have that range here. So when I say the cover page, we have a cover page, but we also require them to upload their actual CMA, which is not something that we actually add to the eSign platform. This is what we call a label, which I'll get to in a moment. Then we have our tax records, the T47, the the survey and the T47 here, seller's disclosure notice, and then this, you'll see this red exclamation point is if the form is required. In this case, seller's authorization to release and advertise certain information. Short sale, distress sale, whatever. If the seller's authorized us to disclose certain words like that, we're going to get their authorization in writing. If there's nothing like that, you can hit the minus button here and take that to discarded forms so it gets it out of your room. You can only discard forms that aren't required. So whether the form is fillable or not, maybe the mold form, by the way, that you're familiar with, it's not fillable. It's just simply a form. So some items are fillable. None of these are. These all are, except for the market analysis is not fillable. The tax records are not fillable, and the survey is not fillable. And some of them are required and some are not. So if we want to copy the blank form, we can click here, and here is the blank form as it's been provided to us from Texas Realtors. Or we can click over here on the forms, and the forms that are fillable will show up here in our form system. Again, we can fill all. We can also do something else, which is very, very cool, and unlike any system I've ever seen, is you can click the share button, and for every single party that's in your room, we'll have one of these tiles. So we have Miguel as a party, as a seller here. Rental applications, for instance, we can share the rental application with our client, and they get an email, click it, they can fill out the whole thing and click submit, and it comes back to us. So they have the ability to fill this out if we share it with them. Then this would download the completed forms, print the completed forms, e-sign them, PDF them directly into the room in our PDF form saver in our documents section. Again, I want to go back and show you just one last time the form filler because I think that's something that is pretty cool as pertains to buyers. When we add that final packet, which is your contract 1 to 4, you click add. Now we go to our forms tab. Now you see the final packet here, which is a 1 to 4. You see the contract here. We click our amazing form filler, which is up here, our fill all tool. Few seconds, and it goes ahead and it adds the information that it knows, which is our client. We have to fill in the other client, the legal description, the price, and of course you get to the last page and then it fills the agent information, which is something that people really appreciate, that the system actually fills all that out for you. We've really tried to throw as much cool technology into the system as possible. For instance, there is a button here that allows you to take the forms and put it in full screen mode, so they're easier to see. There is a button to change the forms from a form view to a field view, and if you have a question regarding one of the fields on the form, 1601, which is our 1 to 4 family, maybe you have a question regarding paragraph 6D, you can click. Hey everyone, Jack here, talking about our 1 to 4 family home contract TXR 1601. Currently we are on paragraph 6, title. So we walk the agents through each paragraph. So if you have questions regarding a paragraph, you can either pick up the phone and call one of our Realty Texas managers who are happy to help you, or you can jump into the system and simply click this button and watch a video regarding that particular paragraph. So we've really tried to throw as much cool technology into the system as we can by building our own MLS, our own CRM. Our CRM follows all the pipelines. It's based on our website. If you go and you check out our website, and a consumer clicks our lead gen, and the lead comes into our system, if you are on your subdomain on the realtytexas.com space, that lead falls directly into your CRM, falls under the new category. You'll get a message on your mobile app, then you click a button that says call on the mobile app. It will call the consumer using your vanity number and try to answer that consumer's question and maybe convert that consumer. So our system is sitting on top of the website with all of the lead gen as well. So we have our own MLS, our own CRM, our own rooms program, our own e-sign digital signing service, Cesium, which I showed you before. I think though, one thing else I want to show you, I think when I was showing you the downloadable just sold card, I called it a just sold card, but it is a anything card. Any status, we have accepting bids, accepting offers, active, back on market, broker oper, coming soon, for lease, any one of these, and you click the download button, and here is your grand open house card. So these are postcards that you can go to Reminder, go to the tax records, download the list, upload the list, and the list will automatically generate one postcard for every contact. So it's super easy to use the list that we have. If you do have a list, well, you click the custom button, you upload the field, and you grab the different columns, and every column will be here, and you can add multiple columns per line. You can also add the commas that you need between the columns. This is very well tested and works very well. And of course the video maker. And I want to just show you one more thing in the video maker. This came from our Spanish speaking group. We have these concepts of roundtables here at Realty Texas: luxury roundtables, Spanish speaking roundtables, SAE roundtables, YPN roundtables. So we've put our agents in these groups so that they can grab similar competencies, luxury home competencies, for instance, and they meet. We bring in refreshments, and agents can freely flow information between each other so that they can share information. One thing that came out of it was, why don't we have a video that is in multiple languages? We're going to choose the images, maybe the first couple images, maybe an image of the kitchen here, and maybe master bath, master, and then maybe backyard. Just going to grab those. You can grab as many images as you want, but as we're clicking, you can click the add all button if you wish. But here are the images, and if I click make video, remember it takes about 2 seconds per image. So 10 seconds for 4 images. So the whole thing is fairly quick. Here is the video that we just did with the photos. But if you want to select Spanish, it automatically converts all of our statuses to Spanish. So when you click that make video button, I should have selected an audio, but when you click the make video button, the whole thing now is in Spanish, and more languages to come. This down here is part of our agent's motto. So this is entered by the agent in their back-end system. So all of this information up here is thrown into Spanish, and the end is thrown into Spanish as well. So we've been very conscientious to make sure that we support our agents at Realty Texas that speak different languages. So I want to thank you for spending all this time with me today, walking you through our Realty Texas technology, talking about the importance of using the system to help us with our compliance and lowering the risk and risk reduction for the company by taking things like an intermediary form and seeing that in our compliance department, agents are forgetting or omitting that form. And because they are, understanding the risk related to it. Chapter 1101 of the Real Estate License Act talks about what the general criminal penalty is for missing that form. And when that form is missed, it's not good enough to say I didn't know or I forgot. That TREC doesn't care if you forgot, that the same requirements apply whether you forgot or whether you purposefully decided to not use that form. So we are building extra layers into our technology to help our agents ensure that they're practicing real estate ethically, legally, and in compliance with not only the Texas License Act, but also TREC and their TREC rules and our Realty Texas company policy. Additionally from that, for those of you who may know someone who is struggling with technology or spending a lot of money for technology, we don't charge for any of this. Our review system, our blog platform, our CRM, the rooms, the digital signing platform, our Cesium, even an e-card platform that we have, which is an electronic business card. Imagine for a moment that this is, I'm going to click inspect. I'm going to change this to the different browser types. Imagine if this was on your cell phone for a moment, and this is a page that agents are able to save on their cell phone. I'm going to show you mine. Here is a app on the top right corner of the phone. When clicked, it actually opens up my V-card. So here's mine. Basically what I do, if I'm wanting to give someone a business card, I'll say, hey, you got your cell phone with you? Open up your camera app. And then I have them hover the camera app over the QR code that's down here. And when they do that on the other person's cell phone, they end up seeing something that looks like this. So when they scan it on the other person's cell phone number, on the cell phone, they see this, which is a website link, a Facebook link, Instagram, all my socials. And then if they click V-card, it actually opens up and downloads all the information. So all the agent has to do, or all the consumer rather has to do, is click save, and it saves your information directly into their phone, and they can save this page. They can go back and look at your website, your Facebook, your Instagram, all of that great stuff. And so again, all of this technology that we've been providing to our agents is free of cost. We don't charge anybody. And for a senior agent, our split here is 90-10, so we have slim margins, but we are doubling down on our technology. But not just technology, we're doubling down on the education as well. Realty Texas is home to Mega. Mega is our master salesperson training program, where we teach agents how to start their day off for success, how to convert, prospect, convert, close, and follow up, and follow that cycle in 30 days, create a habit. We're teaching them how to learn their unique value proposition, their elevator speech, and then learn this business inside and out, as well as scripts and how to convert leads, and how much time they need to be spending every single day prospecting, filling their pipelines, because every day when an agent wakes up, they wake up mostly unemployed, and they have to prospect to find their clients. And one of the best things about Mega is that we've been able to get Mega approved for 84 hours of CE. For each Mega, you get a binder. that looks like this. This is our Mega 9 binder. It has our entire Mega course in the binder. We have had 9 graduating courses of Mega, and on September 6th begins Mega 10. We don't charge for Mega either. I teach that personally. I've sold over 1,000 homes in my career. I've been very involved in our local, state, and national leadership. I've taken all that I've learned and I've poured it into Mega. And the proof of the success of Mega is junior agents who have come out of our Mega course and been able to close $10 million in production their first year. This actually teaches the agents how to be a salesperson and someone who's proud to be a salesperson, because after all, a real estate agent is a sales agent with a commission. So this is our agent's success in increased production from taking the course. We have had junior agents take Mega, and again, Mega is not for junior agents, it's for everyone. It's for anyone who wants to increase their production. We've had junior agents less than 2 months in the business jump into Mega, and at the end of the 30 days have closed $10 million in their first 12 months of real estate by graduating Mega. And again, Mega takes 30 days to graduate. It is 30 days to set your intention, learn your value proposition, learn your elevator speech, learn your closing scripts, and learning the business inside and out from a top producing realtor who has created a brokerage, who's created the technology, who's been involved in the local associations. I take this information and freely share it so that you can be successful, which is a fundamental tenet to our philosophy at Realty Texas, which is if we can make you successful, then we will be successful. There are a lot of people out there in Texas that are deciding to get their license and going through real estate school. I teach at Champions, and so I see how many people that are coming into the business right now. What people don't tell them is that this is a sales job. They think, oh, I watched what my agent did, and what they did was very easy. But the reality is, prospecting and where you're going to find your clients is this business. And so those people who are really good, what I call sunshine yellow types, that are really outgoing and not shy to talk with people, which is one of the qualities that makes a really great salesperson, that typical personality, sometimes they struggle with the details of a back-end technology system or all the technology out there anyway. So we've built all this technology to make it easier for our agents. We teach them how to be a salesperson, but we also teach other classes. Now, I'm a certified instructor. I teach Legal 1, Legal 2, and Broker Responsibility. We don't charge for those classes. You have to pay Texas Realtors to submit the education to TREC, which is usually $10, but you get the education free. We don't charge for it here at Realty Texas. So we teach ABR, GRI, Military Relocation Professional, New Home Construction. We teach Pricing Strategy Advisor, the National Association of Realtors negotiations course. We teach all of that in-house, and I don't ever charge for any of those designations. You only have to pay reback for your ABR or pay Texas Realtors to record the credit on your license. And so, for instance, GRI, you might be able to take for $30 a class just to pay the fees to Texas Realtors or whatever that fee is. Realty Texas doesn't see any of that money, because our goal here is if we can make our agents successful, then we'll be successful. If we can help our agents close more transactions, we know that we'll be successful. So teaching our agents education, giving them quality technology, teaching them how to be a salesperson, and then supporting them. Not only do we support the junior agents and get them into training and turn them into expert agents, but our senior agents out there, we're continually saving deals for them. For instance, we had a senior agent, luxury agent, had a client not be able to get qualified. I found out that there was a termination being sent. I looked at it, got him with a different lender, and were able to save that transaction. Our agent had a termination out for signature at the time that I learned about this, and we were able to save that transaction. And so we are doing everything that we can do and more to support our agents to help them earn more money so that they can have a little bit more of a balanced life, so that they can have a career in real estate that withstands the test of time. I always say, what is a bad market? There's no such thing as a bad market. It's just who the market favors and the type of marketing and advertising you're going to need to do. I've been doing this for a long time. In fact, even before the last downturn in 2008, I was licensed back in 2003. I've seen several different markets. I can tell you that the ebb and flow of a market is what it is. We see all kinds of crazy things happening in our market all the time. A couple years ago, the federal government shut down because they had a budget cap issue. We've seen FHA shut down. We've seen VA shut down due to budgetary situations where all of a sudden we just couldn't close transactions for a week or so. We've seen mortgage banks go out of business during a transaction. We've seen hurricanes down in Houston. We've seen power outages in Austin. We've seen snowpocalypse hit us. We've seen downturns. We've seen tornadoes tear houses apart. And the resilience of this firm, the resilience of the agents that we have, is awe-inspiring. We are going to stand the test of time. We're currently hiring for additional agents, and so if you're a Realty Texas agent that's working with a rock star on the other side of the transaction, please refer them to us. If you're another agent that's struggling with technology, or you don't feel like the culture of the firm that you're at right now is matching with what you're looking for, or you just feel like you need something else in your career right now, we recommend and ask that you go and visit realtytexas.mobi. That's MOBI. And you click on the button that says interview to join, and you select a time that works with you and talk to the amazing Lisa Ormsby. She's my co-owner of Realty Texas. She's the recruiter here and manager. She interviews every single new candidate for Realty Texas, whether a senior agent or junior agent, and we will interview you, and we will determine whether we believe that you would be a good match for Realty Texas. We do not hire every agent. There are probably more agents that we've said no to than we will say yes to, because we look for someone who understands that this is a sales job, someone who understands that this is a professional services profession, that they have a servant's heart, that they're going to care about the consumer, that they're going to generally care about the home ownership dream of putting a roof over someone's head, and that they're going to care and take care of our consumer, that they care about the code of ethics. You know, I served as the Texas Realtors chairperson of professional standards for the state. I'm currently serving as a regional vice president. I'm a past president of the Williamson County Association of Realtors and was on the initial creating team of the Central Texas Regional MLS. I've served a lot in my profession. This last year, I've really focused as a project manager building out all this technology for our agents. But as soon as this kind of gets a lid on it, I will be back there serving my community. We are the creators of the largest food drive in Williamson County. We're not just in Austin. We have a huge team in Houston. Our team is growing in San Antonio. We have 3 different offices. We have a 15,000 square foot office at our world headquarters here in Round Rock. We have a staff of 13. We have a videographer and a graphic designer, social media strategist, all forward facing to our agents, not only to help the company grow, but to help our agents grow. And so our belief and mantra here at Realty Texas is if we can make you successful, then we will be successful. I want to thank you for all the time that you've spent with me hearing a little bit about Realty Texas, the technology that we've added to our room system, and what we have to offer. Again, if you know someone who might be a good candidate for Realty Texas, please share with them this page, realtytexas.mobi, and we look forward to interviewing them for a chance to come and be part of this dynamic team that we've created here at Realty Texas. Thank you so much for watching our video, and keep being awesome.